My dog was stolen from my yard. Then my ex called and said, "You owe me $50,000 if you want him back." I tracked her down, found my neighbor helping her, and turned their blackmail scheme into a criminal case. Months later, she wrote me from jail saying, "You still owe me something." But the letter she left before she died revealed the one truth I never expected. My name is John. I am 34, and Maya and I had been married 3 years when a small routine that held our days together unraveled in a blink. We lived on a quiet cul-de-sac in Ohio. Our backyard was nothing fancy, a scrub of grass, a sagging birdbath, and a narrow concrete path where Buddy, our stocky golden mix, trotted every morning like clockwork. He woke me at 6:15, nudged my knee while I made coffee, and curled up on Maya's yoga mat while she moved through sun salutations. That tiny rhythm kept things steady. On a humid Friday, I stepped into the bedroom from my phone. I was gone about 15 seconds. When I came back through the sliding door, Buddy was gone. No collar, no toys. The birdbath shone, the grass lay flat, and the paw prints in the soil looked like a map to a place that no longer existed. My chest went cold. I checked fast, under the deck, behind the trash, in the garage. Nothing. Maya called from the D-Mart parking lot. She'd run out for milk and would be home soon. I said the easy thing I told myself to slow the pulse. He's probably under the truck. Then, a screen door 2 houses down slammed. My face went white. I ran barefoot across the street and pounded on Marcus's door. Marcus kept his mower ready and his temper on short leash. He opened, confused. I asked about a golden dog. He looked at his driveway, where his sedan sat, and shrugged. That shrug felt off, too calm, like someone acting normal on purpose. A neighbor's mailbox camera had a clip. I watched it with my stomach tight. A woman in a gray hoodie walking through our yard, snapping a leash on Buddy like she'd rehearsed it, then moving him to a waiting car. She knew the angles. The car idled and pulled away. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered. It was Alicia, my ex. Her voice was flat. "You ruined my life," she said. "You owe me $50,000. I told her the clip had our dog. She replied that she'd taken what was hers and repeated the demand. She hung up. The click felt like a verdict. I called the police. Officer Rivera arrived and watched the mailbox clip with me. I pointed to the woman and told her Alicia had a way into the house, that she knew where we kept the spare key. Rivera took notes, methodical and steady. She wrote, "Possible owner dispute," at the top of her report. That phrase struck like a small bell, official, indifferent, and suddenly huge. Then Maya pulled into the drive, bags in hand, and saw me standing pale. She watched the clip once, face folding tight, and told me to call Alicia. I dialed. Her voice came back cool and certain. I told Rivera every detail I could. Times, the gate we used, the spots Buddy liked to nap. Rivera closed her notebook, looked at me the way people do when they have to carry bad things gently, and said she'd file the report and investigate. That night, the yard felt exposed, like a stage someone else had set for their own story. I clung to the collar. Buddy's empty bed looked enormous. The routine we took for granted had been interrupted by a camera, a car, and a message asking for money. I stayed on the porch until the light went soft, trying to fold the shape of the day back into something I could hold. I handed the phone to Maya without a word. She watched the clip, fingers tightening around the milk carton until the plastic creased. Her jaw set. "Call her," she said, steady. I did. Alicia picked up like she'd been waiting. She spoke in short sentences, each one flat and practiced. She repeated a version of the old story, how I'd left, how I'd broken things, how she'd been left with nothing. Then she added a line I hadn't expected, compensation. $50,000, she said, like a price tag on a life she wanted returned. Her voice didn't sound like someone who'd just stolen a dog. It sounded like someone making a calculation. I told her to bring Buddy home. She laughed once, brief and brittle, and said nothing of the sort would happen unless I paid up. The call ended with a click that echoed in the quiet house. Rivera came back that night with an evidence bag and a calm face. She listened to the voicemail, watched the clip again, and asked the same practical questions. Where the spare key was kept, who had access, whether we'd ever argued about the dog. I answered everything. I kept my voice from rising because when it did, my words felt useless, like noise. Rivera knocked on Alicia's door that evening. We followed in the patrol car, feeling smaller than the lights on the dashboard. From the window, we saw Buddy curled in a faded armchair. He lifted his head when he heard our voices. His tail made a weak movement and then stopped. Seeing him there, thinner than in our yard, felt like a punch below the ribs. Alicia opened the door with makeup smeared and a man behind her who wouldn't meet my eyes. Her living room smelled like old coffee and cheap air freshener. When Rivera asked about Buddy, Alicia said a story that could have been written. He wandered off, and she helped. Her voice slid between sentences like she'd done this before. The vet's report the next morning made my hands shake. Dehydration, internal bruising, a fever that had been growing for days. He'd lost weight. The vet's chart had small, clinical notes that read like judgment. Watching Maya cradle Buddy's head in that fluorescent room, I felt something cold and lean settle in my chest. It wasn't just worry. It was a clarity that cut everything into pieces I could name. Theft, cruelty, calculation. I started writing everything down. Dates, times, names, small things I might have missed the first week. How Marcus tended to be helpful when he wanted something. The way Alicia called with complaints about the past when there was no reason to. I turned my memory into a list, not to obsess, but to build something solid we could bring to the station. Facts felt like a kind of armor. Alicia's voice on the voicemail haunted the house. "You owe me," she said, and it stayed in my head like a refrain. Sometimes I wanted to shout it back, to demand why she thought money could erase what she broke. Other times I wanted to get loud online, rally people, make the truth public. Maya stopped me before I hit send on anything. "Let the police do it," she said. "Don't give her the stage." We slept in shifts beside Buddy's kennel for days. He slept more than before and woke with small starts. He flinched at raised hands and at doorbells. But when he found the spot on the porch where the sun fell in the late afternoon, he lay down and let out a slow breath that felt like a small promise. Those quiet moments were the only times I could stop the anger from growing teeth. The town started to buzz. Someone had posted a screenshot of the mailbox clip online, and the comment threads filled with versions of the story, some with sympathy, some with blame. A message arrived from someone I barely knew, offering to help with legal fees. A neighbor I didn't talk to much left a plate of muffins on the porch with a note. "We're sorry this happened." It felt like tiny lifelines in a current trying to pull us under. 2 days after the vet visit, Rivera called and asked me to come down to the station. "There's another clip," she said. The way she said it made my stomach drop. I drove there with Maya beside me, her hand warm where it rested on my knee. In the viewing room, the new footage played. A silver Camry slowing by our curb, Marcus stepping out, talking with Alicia at the gate, then helping her lift Buddy into the car. 10 minutes later they came back and left our gate ajar. Seeing Marcus's face on the screen made something cold go through me. Betrayal has a shape. You can see it in people's actions. We confronted him the next evening, not with yelling, but with the video paused on my phone. He tried to shift the story, said she'd told him the dog belonged to her, that she found him wandering. The excuses came faster than I expected, and yet none of them matched the footage. Rivera arrested them both that night. Marcus for aiding theft, Alicia for trespassing and animal cruelty. The legal steps felt like a door closing on one chapter, but the voice inside my head that had listened to Alicia's demands for money wouldn't stop speaking. She'd said I owed her. That sentence had become a splinter under my skin, small, sharp, and refusing to be ignored. The first act ended with Buddy on the mend and with a voicemail that promised more. The house stayed quiet for days after the arrests, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that waits for the next sound. Buddy was home, sleeping more than usual. When he stirred, he looked around like the world had gotten smaller. I told myself it was over, but every creak in the house made me think otherwise. Then, 3 nights later, Rivera called. "There's something you should see. John, come by the station." Maya and I drove over without saying much. The viewing room was dim and cold, the monitor casting a pale light across the table. Rivera pressed play. The footage was from Marcus's Ring camera, time-stamped at 4:21 p.m., the day Buddy disappeared. The clip showed Alicia's silver Camry pulling up to the curb, but she wasn't alone. Marcus got out of the passenger seat, both of them talking in low, quick voices. She opened our gate, whistled softly, and Buddy came running, tail wagging. Marcus looked around once, then lifted him into the back seat. When the video ended, my hands were tight around the edge of the table. "He helped her," I said. Rivera nodded. "And they came back later," she said, sliding the timeline forward. "See this?" 10 minutes later, the same car returned. Marcus got out, walked to our gate, and left it open, just wide enough to make it look like Buddy had run off on his own. Maya pressed her hand to her mouth. "They wanted it to seem like an accident," she said softly. Rivera turned off the monitor. "This isn't just theft anymore. It's coordination. We'll handle it." But I wasn't built to wait quietly. The next evening, I walked across the street with Maya beside me. Marcus answered the door, trying for casual but failing. The porch light flickered over his face, and his eyes darted toward my phone when I lifted it. "You know what this is?" I said, showing the paused video. He didn't answer right away. "That's not what it looks like," he muttered. "It looks like you helped steal a dog," I said. Maya's voice cut through the moment. "You didn't just take him, Marcus. You stood there while she hurt him." He shifted, caught between anger and guilt. "She said the dog was hers," he said finally. "Said you took everything from her." That line stuck in my mind. She said the dog was hers. Alicia had been rewriting the story since the day she left. Marcus had been easy to convince. Rivera came soon after, arresting him and confirming what we already knew. Both of them were charged, Marcus for aiding theft, Alicia for trespassing, animal cruelty, and attempted extortion. It should have ended there. But Alicia never surrendered quietly. 2 weeks later, we got the first hearing date. The courtroom smelled like polish and paper. Alicia's lawyer painted a picture of a grieving ex-wife seeking closure. They showed old photos, Buddy as a puppy on her lap, the three of us smiling like the world hadn't started to fall apart yet. She cried on the stand, saying she just wanted a day with the dog she helped raise. Maya squeezed my hand under the table. I wanted to shout that she'd left Buddy behind in a motel parking lot when she ran off with someone else, but I didn't. Rivera's report spoke louder. The footage, the vet's findings, Marcus's signed confession. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, Alicia didn't cry. She stared, lips moving in a whisper I couldn't hear. As we left, she leaned toward me and said, low enough for only me to catch it, "You haven't seen the last of me." It wasn't a threat shouted in anger. It was a quiet promise, and somehow, that made it worse. For a while, life returned to something that looked like normal. Buddy began to heal. He ran again, slower at first, then with his old rhythm. The house filled with soft noises, paws on tile, a collar jingling, the steady rhythm of routine. Then, one Saturday morning, I found an envelope on the porch. No return address. Inside was a photo, Alicia sitting at a bar, drink in hand, Marcus beside her. On the back, written in her looping script, "Thought you'd want to know what betrayal looks like." Maya looked at the picture and raised an eyebrow. "Someone's still trying to stir the fire," she said. I set it down and laughed once tired. Let them. But the calm didn't last. A week later, Alicia posted online, a long, dramatic tell-all full of half-truths, claiming I'd stolen her dog, harassed her, and manipulated the system. She posted edited screenshots of old texts. It spread fast. People I'd never met messaged me threats. Rivera got the post taken down, but the damage lingered. Small towns remember gossip longer than the truth. Every walk felt like being watched. And then, the twist. 6 months later, I got a call from a woman named Lauren. "I'm Marcus's girlfriend," she said. "I think you should see something." She sent screenshots of texts between Marcus and Alicia, dated before Buddy was taken. They weren't just partners in crime. They were lovers. The plan had been to demand ransom money, split it, and run. Maya read the messages quietly. She didn't just want revenge, she said. She wanted to ruin you. Those texts sealed everything. Rivera filed another charge, extortion. Marcus got probation. Alicia faced time in county jail. That night, Buddy slept by my feet on the porch, the air heavy and still. Maya came out with coffee and said softly, "She tried to break you, John. She only proved you're stronger." Buddy wagged his tail once, slow, steady. For the first time in months, I believed it might finally be over. But I was wrong. Because a month later, from jail, Alicia sent me a letter. The first line read, "I still think you owe me something." The letter came in a plain white envelope. No return address. Just my name written in Alicia's sharp handwriting that looked more like a warning than a greeting. I almost threw it out, but curiosity has a way of pulling you toward bad decisions. I sat at the kitchen table while Maya made coffee. She glanced at me when she saw the handwriting. "Don't," she said quietly. "You don't need whatever that is." But I opened it anyway. "John, you may have won in court, but you'll never understand what it feels like to lose everything. I lost my job, my apartment, my friends, all because of you. You could have ended this quietly, but you wanted to humiliate me. You owe me that $50,000. And my dignity." Her words were angry, but underneath, there was something else. Exhaustion, maybe regret. I folded the paper once, twice, and slid it across the table. Maya read it, her expression calm. "She's still trying to pull you back in," she said. "Don't let her." I nodded, but that night, lying in bed, the letter kept circling in my head. I couldn't stop thinking about how some people burn down their own lives and then stand in the ashes blaming everyone else. 2 months passed. Then, out of nowhere, the prison called. The officer said Alicia had collapsed during her work shift, dehydration, and stress. She'd been moved to a long-term care facility and had asked to see me. I hesitated for days. I didn't know her anything. But Maya said quietly, "If you don't go, you'll always wonder what she wanted." So I went. The facility was quiet and smelled of bleach and dust. Alicia sat on a bench near the window, thinner than I remembered, hair pulled back. For the first time in years, she didn't look angry, just tired. When she saw me, her eyes softened. "I didn't write to guilt you," she said. "I just wanted to tell you. I wasn't always like this." Her voice cracked a little. I didn't interrupt. She went on. I believed if I took something from you, maybe I'd stop feeling like the one left behind. But I hurt the only innocent soul between us. She meant Buddy. I didn't say much. There are moments when silence is kinder than forgiveness. I just said, he's okay. He still runs every morning. Alicia smiled faintly, a real smile, small but honest. Good, she said. He never liked sitting still. That was the last time I saw her. But a week later, I got a call from her lawyer. He said Alicia had asked him to deliver something if she couldn't speak again. A sealed envelope. I didn't open it right away. It sat on my desk for days. Like a small weight, I couldn't decide whether to lift or leave. Then, one cold morning, I tore it open. Inside was a short note and a photograph. John, if this reaches you, it means I didn't make it out. I'm sorry, for Buddy, for the mess I made of everything. I thought revenge would give me peace, but it only made me smaller. You didn't ruin me. I ruined myself. The photo was of Buddy as a puppy, sitting between us years ago, both of us laughing at something I couldn't remember anymore. Maya stood beside me as I read it. You don't have to keep that, she said softly. But I did. I placed it in a drawer with the collar Buddy used to wear before everything went wrong. Alicia passed away 2 months later from complications of her illness. The news didn't shock me. It just felt quiet, like the end of a storm that had already blown through. Her lawyer sent one final envelope marked personal effects. Inside was a copy of the same photo, but this time, Alicia had written on the back, "For what it's worth, you were the best part of me I couldn't keep." I sat on the porch that evening with Maya and Buddy. The sun dipped low, painting everything gold. Buddy rested his head on my leg, his tail sweeping the floor in lazy arcs. Sometimes closure doesn't arrive wrapped in forgiveness or revenge. Sometimes it just shows up as understanding, slow, quiet, and final. Now, a year later, Buddy runs again along the fence every morning. I built it higher, not because I'm afraid anymore, but because this little yard deserves to stay safe. The grass has grown back. The bird bath still leans a little, but the water's clear. When the sunlight hits just right, Buddy's shadow runs beside him, like a second chance made of light. That's how I know it's over. It's been a full year since that day in the care facility, since I last saw Alicia sitting by the window, smaller than life, saying she wasn't always this way. Sometimes I still think about that moment, not with anger anymore, but with the strange calm that comes when a storm has finally used up all its strength. Buddy's healed completely. He runs the yard like he owns it again, strong, confident, free. His fur is back to its golden shine, his bark back to full volume. Maya laughs every morning when he chases birds off the fence. It feels like life has finally gone back to something normal, the kind of quiet that doesn't hide danger underneath. Then, one winter morning, a package arrived. The return address was from Alicia's lawyer. Inside, there was a small wooden box, a folded letter, and a single photograph. The letter started simply, "John, if you're reading this, I'm gone. The doctors told me months ago, but I didn't want anyone's pity. I know you'll never forgive me, and that's fair. I wanted you to feel what I felt when you left me, but all I did was dig myself deeper. I hurt the one being that never hurt anyone, Buddy. And for that, I'm sorry." The words hit different this time. They weren't angry or manipulative. They felt tired, like someone who had finally stopped fighting. I unfolded the next page. In the box, there's Buddy's old collar. I kept it after the divorce. I don't even know why. Maybe part of me wanted to remember the days when we still laughed in that backyard, before everything fell apart. You were a good man. John the First just didn't know how to be a good person beside you. Inside the box was the old collar, the same one Buddy wore as a puppy, the one I thought was lost years ago. The tag was scratched, the letters half faded, but it was real. Maya stood beside me, quiet. She didn't say much, she didn't need to. She just leaned her head on my shoulder while Buddy sniffed the collar, tail wagging softly, as if some part of him remembered too. The photo that came with the letter was of the three of us, taken in the early days, when Alicia still smiled easily. The back had a single line written in her slanted handwriting. "For what it's worth, you were the best part of me I couldn't keep." That night, we sat outside on the porch. The air was cold, and the sky was wide and pale. Buddy lay between us, head resting on his paws. I looked out across the yard, the same patch of grass that started everything, and realized something simple. Revenge had never brought me peace. But seeing how it all ended, I understood that some people destroy themselves long before anyone else ever gets the chance to. I didn't hate Alicia anymore. I just hoped she found the quiet she couldn't find in life. I buried the letter and the collar under the oak tree by the fence, the one Buddy always circles before he lies down. It felt right, like closing a chapter. Now, every morning, Buddy runs along the fence again, his shadow chasing beside him when the light hits just right. I sip my coffee, watching him move, and for the first time in a long time, I feel peace. Not the kind that forgets, but the type that accepts. That small backyard, once the place where everything was taken, is now the place that reminds me what we got back. Maya says it's strange how life works out. I think it's karma, just quieter than people expect. Sometimes, when the wind moves through the trees, I swear I hear a faint whisper, like a memory finally letting go. But he stops, looks up, then keeps running. And that's enough.